Alright guys, thought I'd do a Mark II how to get a bit more power video, because a couple of guys have been asking me to do one for a while, and I've got my project truck here which is actually still a Mark II, so I thought I'd take the time to do one. So to start off with, Mark II airbox, just a square airbox. All the holes in the inner wing and the wheel arch and whatever, all the threads, all the holes are in there to fit the Mark III airbox. So you get a Mark III airbox with the brackets and that all bolts in. You've got to enlarge this hole here because it's a bigger fitting, a bigger duct that comes in. That's a cylindrical air filter, so it's a lot bigger, and that's obviously designed for the TDCI, so that's about what, 160 brake or something they are standard. So that obviously supports that. The MAF sensor is the same plug, so you use the same MAF sensor. You use the hose from the Mark III airbox and it bolts to the Mark II turbo fine. You just got to join this rocker vent together, and that's that. The other thing you can do is get rid of this stupid little standard intercooler because they're tiny. So you can fit a Mark III one of them, which is about half a size bigger again, or you can go stupidly big and do like this. Like that. Big old jobber behind there, 3-inch core. But a Mark III one's good enough, you know. Then obviously coming up here, you can get rid of that, take that hose off and blank that. I've done another video on EGR blanking, but essentially you take that hose off and cap it. This defaults to the open position, so put my spanner down. When the EGR wants to operate, that pulls that closed, and that's why there's a stop screw on there. So like that, that's default, that's open. You ain't got to worry about it. Don't worry about cable tying it or anything, because that's actually open. You can fit a plate on there, get rid of that, get rid of this valve, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of the cooler, fit another plate on the exhaust down there, loop those lines together and whatever. You can actually unplug all these EGR valves. It's the first 3 for the EGR. You can unplug the EGR valves and get rid of the whole lot. But if the plugs get dirty anymore, they think they've got a short on them, the ECU won't like that and they'll think they've got a problem. So you're better off just leaving them in there and capping the outlets for the back lines, but whatever, up to you. And yeah, so if you get that out, what I did on another Mark II, I took the inlet manifold off and ported it out to match the head, because, you know, it had about 2 mil around the outside to take off, so I had a little bit. The main thing I did was I took this elbow off here and I really went to town on that, getting as much meat as I could, because there's a sharp bend in there, and there's also a little pipe where the EGR feeds in, that's got like a little bit of a steel insert, and you can get rid of that because you're not using the EGR, so that opens it up a little bit. The other thing you can do, so standard turbo wastegate setup, you got the snail, and that'll be providing, it should be providing 16 psi, and when it does, that opens your wastegate. So they often go weak, but more often than not you've got a pressure drop across that tiny little intercooler as well. So what you can do is you can take turbo snail up to that MAF sensor, and then you can go wastegate with a new hose up to there on the inlet. So the wastegate's seeing inlet pressure, and the MAF sensor, or sorry, MAP sensor, and absolute pressure, is seeing your snail pressure, which usually is 2 psi or 3 psi higher because of the small restrictive intercooler. So that'll get you a bit more boost, and that'll get you a bit more fuel a bit more early. So there's that. The other thing you can do is you can slacken off these fuel pump bolts, as you can see them, one behind there, one on that flange at the front, and there's one behind these injection lines, right behind the back of the pump. There's a little bracket behind there. Slacken them 3 off and tilt the pump towards the engine, so that's inwards. So that'd be like that. You only go small amounts at a time, but if you advance the timing you can get a bit more power and a bit more response. But don't go mad, because she'll be nailing. And I mean it, you'll hear it, it'll sound like a right bag of shit. Then obviously once you've done that, or you want more or whatever, you can put a RON box on it. So what that does, when I used to run one, I ended up giving it to a mate, but you basically splice it into the wires on this plug that goes into this bulkhead fitting down, you can't see it, that black plastic plug that's bolted into the fuel pump, and there's 3 wires in there that go to a thing called a control sleeve position sensor, and that basically tells the fuel and when to stop. So it's a mechanical pump, start of injection is fixed but is altered by the time in advance underneath. End of injection is also the quantity of fuel, so you intercept the wires coming from the pump for the CS sensor, control sleeve position sensor. It thinks it's at say half throttle, but you're lying to it, the box lies back to it and it says right, you're actually at 40, give it a bit more. So that's how you can get more fuel out of them. And then obviously more fuel, more power, etc, etc. So you run a bit more boost, a bit more fuel, and you'll be making a lot more power. But really you want an exhaust gas temperature gauge to be doing all that, mucking around with all that. But if you're not going to fit a RON box or muck around with a remap or anything like that, standard Mk2 will go pretty good with just a hose swap. So like I said, MAF sensor to turbo snail, wastegate to inlet, and a boost T wound up to about 18 psi, and you'll notice the difference. Standard turbo tops out about 20 psi, other than that you're just pushing hot air and there's no good for it. Factory spec should be 16 psi. So yeah, that's basically it. There's a few other little things you can touch on, but if she's well serviced then start doing that bit by bit, see how you go. The other thing I did do on mine, I got rid of this standard elbow down here and put a 3-inch dump on it, so she pulls pretty strongly down low. But for starters, if you're just playing around, just go for a decat, and that'll open it up a bit, get rid of that horrible restricted cap. Well, you can go straight through, but sometimes they sound like a bag of shit, so keep a muffler or a resonator on there. Yeah, it's my project truck at the moment.